Hello and welcome everyone to the pre-show for the Paladins Console League. A lot of interesting games going to be going on, but only 7 of them. I guess the best way to start out the day is to just go ahead and mention that Onslaught versus Curse These Hands is going to be postponed due to the weather this weekend. They weren't able to play. There were a couple players, I think, who were evacuating. They're safe, but they're going to be playing their game next week instead of this week. But that one, honestly, was one of the ones I was most excited for today, just because both of those teams are undefeated right now.
Yeah.
And, of course, Onslaught has been our LAN representative and LAN winner for quite a few times.
You know, that's what happens when you ban out Grok. He gets pissed.
Yeah.
He just,
he just brings the tempest
out.
He brings the tempest.
Immediately.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's interesting. I mean, you know, sending the best vibes to that area because it is tough. There are a lot of guys that we have, veteran players in the console scene who are from, you know, Florida and in that area, Skeppy being one of them as well. And I know that there's a lot just of question marks. I even know the media sometimes got it mixed up a little bit and maybe, you know, a little bit of like, hey, this is going to be crazier than it is. I remember the gif of the guy walking.
The weatherman.
The weatherman. Yeah. Oh, man, it's crazy. I don't know how these kids are in this dude just walking casually past, like not even knowing anything. So who really knows? But you have to take the precaution for sure. And so that's why it's going to be postponed.
So a lot of those games, or at least those 2 to 3 games, not going to be seen this week. Maybe next week.
I don't know if we're going to see them next week as well. I mean, now that we're doing 7 or 8, there may not be time to fit it in the broadcast, but we will obviously let you know the results, and we wish both those teams the best.
I'm excited either way for those results. There's another one this week that's 2 undefeated teams that I think is going to be very interesting. It's actually another North American side. Elevate is 2-0, and they're going to go up against Oni Channers, who are 2-0 right now. Both of them looking pretty solid, actually. Elevate, I want to say, has a little bit more, I think, of the bias just because of how successful they've been in the past. But at the same time, they haven't quite been looking, I want to say, at the same standard they were in the last couple lands, last couple months.
Right. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see Swiper, you know, taking the opportunity to play Koga again and maybe even adjusting how those picks and bans are. I think he's a dangerous player. One of the champions we haven't seen that is so known for, though, is the Pip. And we haven't seen that come back. I don't know if that's going to be something that is just gone from console forever. I don't know if he's going to try to bring it back here because I'm sure we will see more bans of Koga than picks this time around with everyone just understanding how dangerous he is.
Yeah.
But it's really going to be the question of can Swiper kind of like carry this squad to a victory over a top dog.
I think there is a lot of reputation on the line. Elevate, while not the same roster that it's always been, has that reputation. They still have some very veteran players on that squad, and I think, you know, you have to sort of take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. I think the Oni Channers have a lot of big names on that roster as well, despite them kind of being the more wacky Orgless name. You have to look at the Koga coming in as well. You have to look at all the picks that have defined these guys and gotten them to this point and see if they're able to make any adjustments. I would like to see the Koga start to be played a little bit more. I think it's always a lot of fun to watch, right?
Right.
I think, I think the Wonderful is like the only guy that I've actually seen it make it through aside from that like week 1 Swiper performance on it. But I don't know. They were sort of running away with it in those tightly kind of close-knit matchups. I would like to see a way for these guys to maybe work it in. There's always that element of surprise when you're able to not ban out this champion. Something else has to get banned out, or you go the G2 route and start like passing bans just to make sure it gets allowed to throw that team off.
Do you think Koga for this week is going to be seen more often than not as a ban, or do you think he'll finally be able to start making it through?
I mean, he got banned every game except once.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, you can't see him any more banned out than he pretty much was.
Yeah, and this is one of the only champions that we really see have this kind of impact that's so different than when it's on PC. It's the tracking capabilities of console are so entirely unique that it makes Koga, for whatever reason, I mean, we obviously understand the reason with his kit, just that much more impactful, and you just can't let him through. So I think you will be wise to see the ban from Koga, but you may see some risk go on.
You get to see the tracking come through in that card, specifically just being able to heal him up more effectively. I think that's just the play style, right? These guys just want to run and gun. They want to hold a W at you, I guess, in this case. Left stick forward and pull right
Left
trigger.
stick forward.
Yeah, it's not as catchy.
It's not as catchy.
Not as catchy. I can't imagine Meta Pusher getting that tattoo.
Do you think if he makes it through, as today the day we start seeing some claws, or is there no chance of claws?
Well, you know, that's really the only we've seen the Master of Arms, we've seen the Adrenaline Junkie now thanks to Bugsy. We have not seen any Blood Skewer, Blood Reaper, and we haven't seen any Dragon Fang. So one of the biggest thing is is there going to be a utility option switching to those? Because that is the only card in his loadout with the ability to actually have the anti-heal on the claws. There's no other way to do it. Even if it's just for one claw, swipe, and then turn back to your daggers. Is there a build that allows you to apply that and get that early game effectiveness? I don't know. It's going to be a risk. But it'd be fun if somebody did it.
I think given how strong the tracking is on console, you probably won't ever see it here.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason to pull it out.
Well, another one of the matches, at least I'm excited for, is going to be Flashpoint versus Brutal Fissure. And in the past, Flashpoint has been synonymous with very easy win. But I feel like with the way we saw specifically Atomic AMK last week, he was someone that we were talking about, one of the newer players in the scene who had some very phenomenal Drogo's performance. I feel like that set all of a sudden gets a lot closer. It's not as guaranteed for Flashpoint if Brutal Fissure have the same performance they had last week.
I can't wait to see it. I mean, Atomic has been just a beast, and it's like it's not that often you get to see that guy almost like a baboon level of performance where it's like this looks like a one-man show happening, right? And to do it on blasters as well. You know, Drogo's has been slowly becoming more important on console, but the control that this guy looked like he had was absolutely insane. And we'll have to see if maybe the Bomb King, if that's allowed to be played this week on console, comes through. But I think this guy can do a lot of work with the Drogos, and that's something that Flashpoint absolutely has to be aware of, and realizing that shutting down Atomic is going to probably be their best chance.
I feel like something with a players named Atomic, that they're just really good at blasters. Because not only AMK, but also Atomic Boom.
That's
both
right.
Very notable players because of their blaster play.
I mean, blasters are really a way to make a name for yourself in this league and in Paladins because they're rare, they're very isolated. There's only 2 or 3 of them that are ever constantly in the meta, maybe 1 or 2 of them that are always constantly in the meta. And so when you become a big name guy that can actually carry a game on them, it gives your team a whole different dynamic. It's one of those things where you see a person and they have, you know, they're more one-dimensional and they're, you know, he's the office guy, he's the paperwork dude. But, you know, you bring a little bit more personality one time, people realize, oh, wow, this guy's actually a lot more dynamic. Or they see you at a charity event, or they see, you know, they realize there's something more to you, and that gives people a whole new perspective. I think that's what happens with players when they show, I can also be a dominant Drogos.
That goes against everything that we talked about, why we think Koga is strong, right? Because just, I think holistically on the controller, it's not really natural to play those projectile characters.
Yeah.
It's difficult to lead at times. At least it was for me getting started, right? You always kind of gravitate back towards the tracking champions because it's like not only, especially coming from PC, it's like you can do that better with the controller, I feel like, in a lot of instances, unless maybe you're Rukata or something and you're perfect anyway. Yeah. But when you look at the blasters, it's like nobody was playing that at the start, right? There was, I think Swiper was playing a little bit of the Pip. He was one of the first guys I saw bring out the Drogos as well. But the couple of guys that kind of bring that in and make that staple, it's been really cool to see because he's always a champion that's done so well on PC. And I think it's cool to watch those metas start to align as the console scene just got better and better.
Yeah.
So far, I feel like a couple of the games we've seen were a little surprising to me. Last week, we saw the Baldy Bunch end up dropping down, which I guess is unsurprising when you remember that they're up against Onslaught, who unfortunately, again, we won't see today. But when you're looking at people like Richie, like Styles, people who have been in the scene for a long time, again, veterans that come through, switching to another team that looks solid, and then just don't quite hit that performance they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, Rich has got a name kind of like mine. You know, Nathan Richardson, that's kind of how I got my name, because my name's Evan Rayner. So I took my last name and took the first couple of syllables from it and then just added something new to it. So I like that he went Richie for the squad. And you got to say that Richie Rich is also a great film, and it means that the guy's getting money. He's trying to make it. The Baltic Bunch in this region have not been the top dogs, but they have an opportunity to get that money, to get yourself to the premier show, which is truly HRX. Everybody knows the console wars is where you make your name. The LAN is where you make your name. So these guys still have a lot to fight for. It may not be easy, but every little bit of moment, every little bit of coverage, every triple kill helps to get your name out there and really, I think, usurp the top dogs.
They've been on teams with success before, but I think, you know, once you get off and onto a roster, you know, with some other guys that have just been role players before, it's about finding who's going to be that leader for this squad, because that's what it takes at this point. You need a good draft. You can't just go ahead and pick up your favorite champion at this point. There has to be a lot of thought, because these teams are getting really, really good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
You mentioning HRX makes me think and makes me wonder.
Yeah.
Do you think that we're going to see any
new
different teams coming through, or does it seem like it's still going to be kind of the same old story? I mean, Vexed, Onslaught, Elevate, as well as the other team, Flashpoint, I almost forgot.
I think Console has done a good job of staying relatively consistent. They've got a lot of high-level community members that have really kept the community together.
Right.
I don't know if this is going to be their time where they get a brand new switch-up. I think we're going to see mostly the same couple of teams joining us. whereas in the PPL, I think we have seen teams who have been together make so many switches to just at this moment in time take somebody over. And I don't know if consoles had that full year of the same guys sticking together doing the switches to be able to be there come November.
Europe's been so consistent for console. You've like the one major switch I can think of is Legacy stepping in full time now for Swiper.
Yeah,
and he's like a land tested substitute. He bonkered basically.
Yeah,
so
he bonkered,
and he gets in there and he's already successful. If anything, I think it will come from North America. I don't see it necessarily being the Onslaught squad that doesn't make it great.
Yeah,
That's
after those guys just won.
Entire new roster right there. They're looking solid. I think maybe one team from North America upsets.
Well, I'm excited to see what's going to be happening. Of course, that's going to be later in the year. Anyway, as of right now, though, we have only 7 sets today, but 7 sets to go through. So we're going to go ahead and quick it to a quick break and then come back with sets 1. I believe we're starting in PS4.
Right
so
away. We'll be literally like a minute and a half. We'll see.
They're just going to run. Literally, they're going to run.
Yeah, I'll start now. All right, let's go. Wow, well, we told you we were running. Nick couldn't even get his headset on. Look at this. We are having a blast here at the PCL, Paladins Console League. My name's Randy. That's Nick. How do you feel, man, after the sprint here? Exhausted. Your mic's not even on. I hate to see it. I can't actually.
You hate to see
it.
Oh,
there he is. He's back.
That's why I said you hate to see it. Yeah, you can't hear it.
Yes,
you hate to see it when you can't hear it.
You hate to see it. You love to hear it.
But now I should be feeling all of your senses.
That's right.
It's a good day.
It's a good day. It's a good day. Let's get into it. Console. Let's go. There's no reason to stop getting up. I want to get these maps. I want to get these games. I want to get the schedule. It is time to check through what will be the first of 7 sets today. We obviously have the postponed set coming through from the side.
Right.
Of the East Coast.
Of Mr. Florence coming in and ruining everything for him.
I know. And it's such a wonderful place. Florence is such a beautiful, beautiful area. It sucks to be associated with all the crap that's happening here. Vexed Gaming with a ban, and that chair, Goremizer, where are you? I think this is good to know.
R.I.P. Gore.
Rest in peace, Goremizer. Well, off to a interesting start here, to say the least, with the PCL.
Indeed.
I'm ready to get back to that map screen. So I think we're going to wait and hope that comes through, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the bans already, I think I saw Fish Market banned out. You know, that's a great map. When you take a step back and really just sort of look at it, you got to remember, at all times throughout today, Goremizer's ability, I think, to just be phenomenal.
Oh man, yeah.
In that single shot, he needs that confidence boost, right? He was really a little bit down on himself earlier today. We were not having that.
We were not having.
I don't think, chat. You guys don't want to have that either, right?
No.
You want to be in Goremizer's corner today.
Right. That's right.
And that's why we've got that shot at all times.
At all times, just to check in on maybe if Goremizer's there or not there, see how he's feeling, and I think we may bring that back up throughout the broadcast intermittently.
You never know.
Sure. You never know. I don't know. I certainly don't.
It's already happened twice.
It's already happened twice, and we've not even seen the map one. So I think that's beautiful. We've seen more shots of Goremizer not being there than maps today. If
I were him, I would see that, and I would go get back in position.
Me too.
And just be on standby.
You think that's what?
Anytime we need it. That would be a cool thing to like work in, though. We just have like the the man in the booth off on scene
like
reporting.
SNL.
Yeah.
You know what's actually pretty funny? You know what's actually really funny is like in not Jimmy Kimmel, but Jimmy Fallon. Have you seen Jimmy Fallon live, where he's always ad-libbing and joking on the desk, and then all of a sudden, like his guy like who's standing just by a whatever it's called, a little speaker box, and then he has a mic and he makes like a side joke. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Goremizer could be there, kind of like following along.
That's like a late night talk show thing.
It's a late night talk show.
I don't know, like the emergency host laugh
like
at my joke guy. Help me out here.
Ad lib with me. Guy.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that's an opportunity for console casting here. So if anyone's interested in being in that chair, let's know.
Get Blue for that.
I think he could be the guy.
Blue Ball would be the perfect guy for that.
You always just like ask him a long question, and then he starts to talk, then like to cut him off right away, and then come back to it. He's like, wait, oh. I think that'd be pretty funny.
He'd be the perfect guy for that.
He would be.
Oh man, Willow, Koga, Drogo, Makoa gone, Vexed. They'll have the first pick. Will it be the Inara, or will it be something cheekier?
I know how much you love Khal Drogo, but it's called Drogos. Okay.
Khal Drogo. We need a Khal Drogo skin for Drogos.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense, but I would love to see
it's just a selfish one.
A barbarian Drogos? What does he shoot out of his rocket?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess when you dive just even one layer deeper on that, it starts to fall apart pretty quick.
It starts to fall apart real quick because Khal Drogoz doesn't really have a lot of costume going on, at least that Drogoz could take. But it would be really cool to see that like blade, the curved blade that the Dothraki have, in Paladins in some way. Maybe Terminus, a little Dothraki massacre axe kind of thing, swinging that. That would be fun. However, Terminus not taken here. Torvald, Khan, Bomb King, and Inara taken for Vexed. And OTP across the board. We haven't seen a lot of BK last week in PC. He's not really available for people to pick.
The Khan BK, one of the stronger ones here. Zen is picked up as well. Torvald first picked. They got the Inara as well. And the way we've been seeing things go often is that you get the front line that they can buy the space. They can control the map. It doesn't really matter what is in your back line at that point as long as you got the right guys piloting it.
Furia here, a huge, huge boon to this team. Bex and I did a video earlier this weekend, and we're talking just about the supports and the value of Furia, and just the fact that you press E and your team instantly gets an advantage. And that thing, do you know how many seconds it lasts?
8.
8 freaking seconds. That's a long time. It was a reminder to me because I knew it lasted for a while. I didn't know the exact time, but 8 seconds of 30% movement speed and 30% damage amp for both Furia's teammates and herself. I'm surprised.
It's a lot, man, and it doesn't, less than 10 seconds, right? Doesn't sound like a long length of time, but in this game, I mean,
Paladins,
little seconds. Think about how long it feels like when you're just sitting waiting for an Eevee to come out of Ice Block. That's 3 seconds.
Right.
And this is almost triple that, so it is a very, very long-lasting ultimate. You can't miss it, and I think we've seen actually a decent amount of outplay with it just because you get so many iframes with it. So, like,
some
good Furias can use that when they're getting dove on to not only like get themselves out of the situation, become immune, but they have that now time to call for help, and their teammates are now faster and more lethal coming back to help them out.
I know, and that would be a beautiful thing to have in the real world, right? Just a little bit, something bad goes wrong. Hold up, let me get my wings out. Damage immunity, movement speed.
Hell no.
Everyone around me is ready to kick your butt.
To the no.
Oh, you stepped to the wrong one. And we'll see if Fury is the right one or the wrong one to step 2 here. As we head to Bright Marsh. Welshmania World Edit, Slopodopolis. Slippity slopping on everyone here with the Inara and Lexi Zen on the Maldamba versus Tyloo. Jay Tyloo on the Impulse Cassie, and Gore's still not there. We'll check in with him later. And is that a demolition? What is this for Legends? Is this a demolition? Is he going to change that? Is actually, oh, it's accelerants. Wow, I haven't seen that in so long. Finally fixed.
Finally fixed. Feels fixed, man.
And a Cherish for Furia, which is also interesting. No Solar Blessing here on console. Oh.
That is worth noting.
He can do the jump with a controller, Nick. Now I feel bad.
Now we're trapped. Wow. That is some shred coming through there. Ruckus just evaporated, and that's early game. It's only getting worse from here on out.
Vivian from the top rope. Slamming down, and with the sapper rounds, I would assume, just absolutely deleting the Ruckus. 48% counting here for Vexed Gaming. Welshmania and the rest of the squad feeling confident in their control, but there's still a Furia and a Khan to deal with, yet they've got to step on the point real fast.
Yeah.
Oh,
and,
misses!
Scuff the Grumpy Bomb. You hate to see it, but that's the way it shakes out here. Khan gets in there. OTP on the west side. Now he's trying to lock it down. Commanders grabs an R, but he only rooted himself at that point. And Welshmania, he doesn't even have to aim anymore.
I mean, this Vivian is actually contributing so much here. And you talk about the sapper rounds, Nick, and against Khan, it doesn't feel like that's the counter, right? I mean, he's not really that shield guy. He throws it up, throws it down. But the one benefit is that Khan, really when he gets that shield below the 100% threshold, has to wait. He can't bring it back up until it charges to 50%. And sapper rounds does that so quickly and so easily. We saw it actually tick away there.
Welshmania, I think, making a good adjustment here is, especially for Vivian, and Bugsy does this very well, is not ADSing when you're at like mid to close range. I mean, you really just don't need to. I think you lose so much movement speed, it's just not worth it. He's doing a great job getting out a ton of effective damage this game so far.
Top 5 easiest abilities in Paladins. Where does Torvald's bubble sit?
Man. And honestly,
ease of when you
there is like you have to kind of be like precise with it, especially from like long range.
Okay.
So I think honestly, like top 5 easy abilities pretty much all go to like the auto hit right click heals on most of the supports for me.
All of them? You think Torvald's bubble's not quite in there? I'm talking about
maybe 5.
All right.
4 or 5.
You haven't heard my metric yet for judging whether it is where there's that. There's a little bit of a qualifier, but we'll talk about that in a second. As it seems like OTP have finally stabilized, but at the very end. The qualifier is that ease of ability, so ease of use, but also effectiveness when you use it. So a right-click Cherish Heal, it might be just as easy as a Torvald Bubble, but the Torvald Bubble may give you more, so that would rank it up.
It's never not effective. Unlike heals.
What you get for what you do, basically. Value town.
And I think that's a good thing to bring up. Like, I'm trying to think of like the best example. Maybe
Earthen Guard? I don't know.
There's that. There's stuff that makes, you know, I guess what I'm getting at here is like even at the pro level, things that are easier to use, right? You can't, you know, think too high and mighty of yourself. Stuff like Eerie Presence for Maldamba, right? Even if you think you're the best Maldamba in the world, when you're trying to heal like your world-class Andro that's dashing around and stuff like that, you're going to miss one, right? And so having that stuff that just makes it easier to use makes it so much more effective at the end of the day.
Good point. I mean, I think we see a lot of pros shift that way in Vexed Gaming. The Vivian not really touted as a very complicated champion, to say the least. Maybe even less complicated than the Victor, who has to at least manage running around, maybe cooking the grenade, bouncing off the trajectory. But, boy, super effective. And that's so far what Welsh has been for the squad. World Edit and him, 5-1 and 4-1.
And like we said, it's not getting any easier for these frontliners of OTP. Most people that start with Sapper rounds will go into something like a Cauterize, but there is a decent amount of shielding on this OTP squad. So Welshmania could have gone for the Wrecker, and you know I wouldn't have given him too much trouble for it, but he does go into the Cot 2 right out of the gate.
What is the loadout he is running as well? I think we've seen Runic Ammunition. Is that what it's called? I think it's something around that. If we just take a look at his loadout, we might be able to tell. It is not something that he's picked up, though. And that is where you heal off the shields. You would see probably a Wrecker there, or maybe just a more shield-dependent composition. Again, we say that Ruckus, Khan, it doesn't really feel like have to sap around that, but certainly if you do, you can make matters worse. Woo! And this time they're ready.
That was bold. He's got his guns blazing this time around. The Sentinels are out. Here comes King Bomb. Welshmania starting to fall back. And he's getting hard dove right now. Wow. That feels so bad, dude. He rolled past a double kill for that.
And I think we'll find out if that was valuable or not. No one punished him, and that to me is the biggest issue with what happened with Vexed Gaming. Nobody punished Legends diving that far away. Can they even touch the point? No, that is going to be a very well executed one-man assassination.
You hope they're able to capture a point, or else this is going to be a pretty Resident Sleeper set at that point. They pop the Inflame, literally all 5 of their ultimates. I would hope that they're managing to get it done in that situation, if nonetheless. And Jay Tai Lu hit a nice little flank. I can't help but see that name and think of Tai Lu.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially as a Cleveland fan, right? I mean, it's gotta show up for you. I'm wondering, how do you feel about the aggressiveness we saw Welshmania display? In the first round, it worked out really well. Second round didn't go the same way.
I would have liked to have seen him pre-pop those Sentinels on the high ground as he came around the corner, and instead of falling back. Like, have your shield. You know they're gonna be. You know there's gonna be people there. Right? Have your shield. Have your Sentinels out around that corner. I think he then gets that kill on the Bomb King. Bomb King only escaped with about 20% HP or so. I think that would have been a kill, and that maybe would have turned the fight around.
I think you look at that, and I completely agree with you, Nick. I think a lot of players save the Sentinels, and for me, I'm like, why? I don't really get it. I guess because you're staying mounted. You don't want to give yourself away if you're trying to make a surprise drop down from the top ropes, which he did last round and worked. But the other thing is the capitalization. You know, how do you not recognize what's the team comms? Where do you make this work if you're Vexed Gaming to where you can drop back and know that this Bomb King has to, if he goes that far back with 4 members alive, trade his life for killing Welsh? You have to make them pay.
And what makes Sentinels unique is that they charge while they're out.
Right.
That's really the only ultimate that works that way, where you're getting your next ult off of your effectiveness of your current ult. They last forever. Granted, there is a Ruckus and a Bomb King in this game, and a Cassie as well. All things with reliable splash damage do decently at actually taking those little Sentinels down and putting them in the back pocket. Welshmania, especially with this Torvald, he's allowed to be so aggressive here. He's got so much movement speed. You can see him just zipping around the map on a character traditionally accepted to be pretty immobile.
Khan and firing line, just using it to give himself a damage boost oftentimes. We will see for Khan. This is where it starts to get rough. He's using this line of sight really well, and I got to shout out Westside for just playing around this corridor, because he knows if he's trying to just withstand some of this damage and he stays in the line of fire, he is not going to make it out. This push just lacks sustain. It's what it's feeling like for me. But at least that they are still pushing. Slopodopoulos getting aggressive here, though, trying to take down J-Tai Lu by himself.
I mean, it's Furia definitely, you know, healing on cooldown, but I think it just speaks to how much damage is coming back out.
Yeah.
Any person that she chooses to heal, the other 3 people currently under fire are dropping extremely low. Vex Gaming hold the defense, go up 3-1, and look like they're in a good spot.
Wow, Niju 0-6 on that side. Legends 4-4. He was the one who dove to the back line to get Welshmania off the mark, maybe trip him up in this game 1, and he certainly did. It ended up resulting in a point for OTP, but they weren't able to do much with it. So Vex get the defensive capture point. It'll be 3-1, and they can win the game here off this objective.
In 15 seconds.
I think
didn't die.
Even next time, you could look at maybe just bubbling up that Vivian if that happens again, right? She can just lay down fire the entire time the King Bomb is approaching her. Probably get out at least half, if not 75% of that King Bomb's HP.
Yep.
And then I think, you know, Torvald's bubble is going to cover the majority of that damage. 2K of the 2,500 that King Bomb hits if you're nose to nose with your target. Slopodopoulos looks like he's going for a swim.
And you know what? There's nothing you can do about that one. This is where you have to say
seismic crash
he could have seismic crashed because he got thrown up real high.
And there was a lot of people there. That would have been like actually a decent counterplay, I think.
And this is where I don't know. This is where we see, you know, in Europe and the PPL, what a hitbox there. We'll actually see all of them just fall back. Welshmania at least trades a kill, so I don't know if I mind that. 18% on the objective for Vex, but OTP still with the advantage. And a commanding lead right now.
The difference this time around was Vex Gaming used their ultimates as well this time. OTP still pretty much used everything they had. They still have a King Bomb there. Khan's going to get back to the objective. They allow Anara in. The seismic crash gets off. But it doesn't feel like it accomplishes very much, especially with Bomb King just up high, ripping people apart.
And I don't know if I like them. I mean, I get it. The Torvald doing his best to stay alive, sending the Moldamba out there. He's got the gourd. I think this is a decent attempt. But at some point, Yui's got to dive onto the objective a little bit earlier. You know, he stays alive nearly most of that counter. And I also think Welshmania makes the wrong decision to be aggressive. I know he's overcommitted, but just back off. Cut your losses. Regroup as 5. It was just a matter of time, and now OTP 2-3 pushing again.
Loving this Ruckus skin. It's kind of a rare one. 2 minutes, 10 seconds on the clock here for OTP to give it a better shake. They got it to the primary choke, right? It's not like they got completely skunked in that last round. But at the end of the day, you want to try and see them succeed. Yeah, more kills being picked up on the right-hand side flank from Vex Gaming.
Welshmania finds Legends, and this is what is rough to see, I think, for a team. And especially if you want to continue holding on to these spots that you've had. You know, we've seen Vexed support. We've seen Vex kind of show up for a long time, being members of LAN, being members of the conversation of the higher level of the PCL. But these are some serious, I think, mistakes in terms of form and function for this team and how they're operating under duress. Not good enough answers for me, but still fighting back and having a very solid defense. Seems to be no problem here.
Maybe you're seeing a little bit of, you know they are historically the much better team.
Right.
And perhaps there's a little hubris there with these guys engaging and maybe just a suite of ultimates that's, I think, stronger than theirs in a team fight, 5-on-5 clash sense. I think if Vex Gaming just lean on this Torvald and Nara survivability to really take the brunt of that attack. They've been so gung-ho 2 rounds in a row. I think next round, OTP are probably going to try and do the same thing, because if it's not broke, why try and fix it? Vex Gaming try and use their momentum against them next round.
I mean, at this point, too, let's take a look at the net worth. One of the interesting things in Paladins, not everyone understands or knows, is that you gain objectives, credits by capturing objectives, and now OTP have captured 2. Vex have only captured 1. They've got the 1, the 2-0 push, and then the defense. That's how they got their 3 points, but OTP have just captured 2 objectives, and so what should be more of a dominant game, item-wise at least, in terms of Vex, has now started to shift towards OTP. If they capture the next objective, that's where we see, as Legends picks up the double kill here, more of a change in the tide of momentum.
Bobkin getting a great spot here as well. Lexi goes down. The accelerant is here as well. Welshmania is in trouble. He drops. The overtime has started. They still have a long way to go on this objective push. They have plenty of ultimates if they really feel like they want to, but I don't know if they will. Respawn starting to come through here for Vex Gaming. They will have an attempt to make a last stand.
Overtime still ticking away here. OTP have the Fury on a 15 streak. That's CC immunity, so not worried about getting hit by much. Popping the bubble is the important focus of Westside here. Inara staying healthy, getting healed, and getting protected. And overtime, as you mentioned, Nick, will fall away if these guys just collapse for a second. Uses the battle shout. I mean, he's bought so much time, but it's just not enough. Legends can't find the kills that he needed. And that'll do for this round.
That's kind of what I want to see there. I want to see that Inara kind of by herself, especially with the Torvald, the Maldamba backing up. She's got all the healing amp, the shielding as well. I don't think there's really much of an opportunity for OTP to try and burn through that champion with all of that mitigation attached.
Yeah.
Despite kind of being on the back foot here, Lexi is still going to be a little bit ahead on healing.
You know, Nick, I'd actually like to see Welsh, but this time Slopodopolis take the high ground together. I think they're all waiting back there. You seismic crash, you force ults right there, and then you just pop down as the Vivian and you just delete them all. Focus Legends, make sure. Focus Badge Tiger. I mean, this has been the big issue. The Fury just hasn't died. And as the Haven 3 as well, really prioritizing not getting focused or not taking the ire of Welsh Mania to the best of her ability.
As you saw in that clip there, able to
again,
good opportunity to lock it down.
What do you do?
Crash is ready, but going to be gone off the map there.
Okay.
A little bit too little, too late. Back up though. Don't
I
all
like
get
it.
wiped at this point. Lexi close to getting wiped here, in some trouble.
Oh my.
And that's what you don't want to see there. Not only do you get that initial kill off the overpower, but you give up 3 more.
I mean, this is just I don't know. It's rough to see, man, because you just see Europe and the PPL do it so well. Fnatic lose that overpower, they're like, okay, it's fine. Fight's over. They reset their back, and it's just Vexed Gaming falling for the same trick 3 times in a row.
I know. At
It's
this
tough to
point,
see.
you got to know it's coming, right? Just accept that Inara is probably getting thrown off the map, and everyone just back up to safety there. There shouldn't be any reason. Or, I mean, that Bomb King soloing 3 people should be able to collapse on that.
Something,
and
right?
maybe get the kill at that point.
I don't know where it needs to change, but something does. I mean, we've seen the defense hold. We would expect this will go maybe to the next one, and maybe that's just what Vexed Gaming are doing, saying, yeah, you're all right here, but guess what? When we go to next round, where you don't have a comeback mechanic, we will be back, we will contest, and that's where we will beat you finally. I don't mind teams playing the long game. It just seems like it didn't have to be this long. Still to each their own, 1:40 now, and sees this looking like the guillotine's in.
Yeah, it is.
And how has that paid off for you, Nick?
I mean, you see the kill right there onto the front line, but it's about getting it when it's sort of relevant, right? If you're looking at this overpower as being the win condition for why OTP are just able to win these objective fights time and time again, well, why can't you look at Guillotine as one of those win conditions as well? World Edit should just be counter diving. Kill the Ruckus, kill this Furia, kill somebody every single time with the Guillotine.
And they just use the Inflame. I mean, he just bought the Inflame, and nothing happens as a result of that. I think the separation from this team, it looks like Yui and Lexi's Inner on their own page. Feels like they're healing each other, keeping each other alive, but they're so far away from Welsh Mania at times, so far away from World Edit. It really does feel like a comms issue as to how to solve these problems. The mechanics are there. The quality of players are there. I'm just not seeing it put together, and this is definitely not what they want to see. OTP now, 42 seconds. Like, they're rounding this corner. I mean, Overpower about to be charged as well. This could be game over for OTP.
I mean, they've got ultimates starting to come up now as well. The
no!
Getting pretty close. Welsh Mania is going to go down, finding the quick answer. Here comes the Guillotine as well. World Edit looks to stabilize here with a beautiful double kill.
And Badge Tiger, this is the one who hasn't died. 19 streak and goes down to World Edit finally. Now, the only thing I think they have to be happy about here, if you're Vexed, is that you didn't use too many. You used one, but you keep the Dread Serpent, you keep the Hyper Beam. Maybe you can make something work. And they don't have the Inflame because they used it mid-round. That's, I think, the only thing you're taking away from this defense.
And World Edit, he gets that kill onto the Furia, gets back to 50% on his ultimate right then and there.
She just went from 50-something to 81%.
That Furia?
Yeah.
Fast charging ult, she's got morale boost 2 at least. She may have upgraded it to 3 as well.
Man.
It's a quick one.
That's crazy. So she's going to have it. I mean, that's the thing with the Fury. I mean, part of her biggest thing is Inflame's so good.
Big damage, too.
And it
Look
just,
at that.
yeah, I mean, it's so confirmable. 63K. Doubling Maldamba.
Almost 3 people over 100K, though, for Vexed Gaming. The adjustments have to be made, though. for Slopodopoulos. Maybe throw up a
2,
wall or something, right? You know, you can play the staircase in the room. As long as you throw up a wall, you can sort of cover for yourself as Inara at that point. But some type of adjustment has to be made here, and some type of accountability has to be made around the overpower.
6% and counting here. And now look at this, man. Maybe some hesitation. I don't know what it is. Is it not the Inflame? And now LG Legends is under pressure. And it's finally World Edit who finds the kill into the back line. Oh, that's a good Pyre strike. Yui, though, finding Westside, and now Badge Tiger is isolated. Look at that. Just wants to stay alive. I like that decision by World Edit.
Gets the big heal there, and the kills are coming through now. It's 3-3. No comeback mechanic this time. Finally, for Vexed Gaming to have to worry about. Bomb King comes back. He doesn't get to play. He goes right on back to spawn. Overpowers here.
Okay.
Grabs the Inara. Gonna look for this angle here.
He found it.
Just has to take it.
But they've got to get back now. There is no comeback mechanic, but they need to touch this objective, and everyone who would have been able to
I don't know if they will.
Dismounted. I mean, at this point,
Ruckus
you're hoping.
got far. Ruckus got really far in his mount.
And Jay Tyloo as well. I mean, Hexafire is available. Needs a heal, though, from the Fury. He can't get it. And that's the Hexafire that will not be used here, most likely in this round. OTP come back. Jay Tyloo with a huge couple of kills onto the front line and onto the damage dealer. And so that will be now OTP in control. Slopodopoulos doing his best to get back, but here's the King Bomb. It is ready. Will he go for it now to zone?
Seismic Crash versus King Bomb and Hexafire, the only ultimates available in the game currently. And now gets in there quick. Slopodopoulos is going to throw the Seismic Crash. Legends. Oh my goodness.
Wrong choice?
Beautiful bailout there from Torvald. 96% to 96% and climbing OTP.
Wow.
Steal it away with a Hexafire. Man, Vexed Gaming.
I mean, I can't say this is stolen at all, man. I mean, they win 3 objectives in a row. 4 maybe? I mean, it was 3, right? Because they got the 2.
Yeah, you're at 3 in a row.
1, 2, and then the 3rd, man.
But there's just so many people from Vex there around. That's why I say stolen.
No, I mean, you're right. But as far as this game, it just felt like OTP had Vex's number. You know, maybe Vex just weren't prepared. Maybe they just weren't prepared on that map.
Even letting that Ruckus ride up to the objective, right? Like, so many little things can be adjusted there to win that game.
And that was what I was hoping for. I mean, that's what we saw Vex not do. OTP lose the first point fight pretty bad. LG Legends gets dove on, but then all of a sudden, they just back off. They wait patiently. They play the long game, and it works out. Now Ice Mines. Wow, these two teams definitely going at it, trying to make sure that they get the best advantage they can. And maybe we'll see some different map stuff here. The Willow Band for OTP.
First pick is second pick this time around. OTP will have it. And the Khan band out despite them playing it. And I want it to go. Almost the same bands here, just substituting in the Khan for the Drogos.
Interesting. Really trying to have the Bomb King advantage. I wonder if Vex, I mean, we know World Edit's a great Drogos. So will he take that? The Torvald seems to be super consistent for them. And there is the Drogos as well. It's a decent map for both these champions.
Yeah, Torvald was a big part of their success, I think. And Torvald is like Torvald ult on the Ice Mine's point can actually be very, very lethal. Can be very, very effective for you. There's a ton of kill volume off the side that you can actually use with so many people clumped up in hallways and stuff like that. It's very, very reasonable.
Furia taken here to combine with Torvald. Drogos and the Fernando. I like the aggressiveness from Vex. The way they're drafting seems like they're really ready to take the point to OTP, and they have to because backs against the walls in this best of 3. Vivian drafted here instead for Welsh Mania. That would have been a very dangerous composition and a good piece of hit scan for Vex if they could grab it.
A lot of flip-flopping going on in the compositions here, and the Genos will come through. A lot of luminariable targets here, and it'll
be
interesting to watch OTP if they can leverage this bonus damage against what was a very good Torvald performance. He's the guy that's going to slow all that down. It's going to make that time to kill way longer for anyone who's trying to dive a back line from OTP. So it's something we haven't seen invested into too much anymore. That's definitely more of a spring split sort of vibe with the Genos pick. But it definitely fell off harder than it should, I feel. It's still absolutely a viable strategy, especially on Ice Mines where things can become a little bit chaotic.
Yeah. And Jay Tyloo taking away what was a very good Cassie pick for him. And now onto the Vivian with Sapper rounds. That'll be a great way to get rid of those Torvald bubbles. Nice and quick while still doing the same thing you were intended to do in the first place. And against the Fernando, I mean, that's a great, great Sapper rounds pick as well. The Accelerant from Legends, we don't see it often. Maybe that's playing a bigger difference. And the Mother's Grace from Westside. The Fusillade from World Edit will be probably where you keep your eyes on initially, because with the Torvald bubble, 30% more. I mean, those rockets are hitting near the area of 1,300 a strike when that bubble is applied.
Fire spits, fireballs, a lot of really effective zone control here for Vexed Gaming, putting in a good salvo on the Genos there, but unable to die, and one of these is going to connect sooner or later.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a fireball as well from down below. Slopodopolis is able to trade out for the first blood. Bomb King getting aggressive here, but then quickly being deterred.
I mean, and just no frontline pressure, right? I mean, the Vivian did enough during her life to change the course of the front line, because it just gave Inara a little bit of wiggle room and it made Vex collapse. So at this point, OTP have just had such great drafts and executed them so well. That has been the big difference for me. And Legends isn't doing anything except keeping World Edit at bay and away from the objective, where Inara is sitting, having the advantage, and it's really helping to make sure that the Genos healing, which is lackluster, doesn't get focused.
Now this support is next on the chopping block here, but Torvald, it's a beautiful bubble out. Now the tables may have turned here. Niju needs to be careful. Cassie rolls back. It will charge up the spite, but just getting juggled around this fight. Can't find any kills.
And you know what? Again, we're going to see Vex and the remaining members back off, and now 99% on the objective. OTP have a sixth man. They have somebody who has to be there, and look at that. Guillotine coming in, just gets Slopodopolis off. Fernando has no sustain. And talk about World Edit trying to make a play. He's going to find Inara, double kill for the Dragon. That's a huge deal for them. And now the Inflame comes through from Lexi's end.
Just to make sure that this one goes all according to plan.
Wow.
We need to pick up the Vivian here. I think you could have flanked that out. It's a nice Pyre Strike attempt as well. Couldn't figure out where he wants to go. JT ends up just going down.
This is gonna be close, you can tell. I mean, everybody's got a great counter. This is what it's like. I mean, when you leave the Torvald open, when you leave the Furia open, when you leave the Bomb King, the Inara open, everyone just has all these things where it's just like, man, if we don't deal with this, that's going to be a problem. If we don't deal with this, oh, that's going to be a problem. And everyone's got them. So it's really just about how each point fight do you do. Try to aim for the ankles. And make Vivian a little self-conscious about her lower third. But unfortunately, it's going to work out in the way of Jay Tyler.
There it is, ADS, and just holding left stick forward at this stage of the game here.
The only way to play, brother.
Only way to go.
The only way.
145. And it looks like stabilization here. There was a lot of really close moments. I mean, you look at not only this Dragon Punch barely gets off.
Right.
Jay Tai Lu, I think, was doing a great job trying to counterplay that one down. You look at the Fernando barely surviving the Guillotine's end. Either of those coin flips go OTP's way. I think they capture this first objective.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. I mean, that Dragon Punch was the crucial defining moment of this fight. And that's what happens when you allow point fights to exist that take longer than usual, or allow champions that have longer uptime than usual. You let ultimates be a part of round one. And a lot of times, champions do not fight with their ultimates round one, but we're seeing more and more of that become a staple of this meta. And it's partly because of the sustain of the supports, and it's partly just because of the frontline sustain as well.
Couple of ultimates, speaking of, available for OTP. Sentinels were popped earlier. I'm not sure if they're still up. No, Vivian actually did go down, so it's always the risky run. Especially with World Edit. Drogos in general counterplays. I think the Sentinels very, very well. You can fire spit all of those little guys.
Yeah.
The dive successful this time around. Lexi has to be babysat. There's a Luminary Yomi Zin coming at her constantly, or Guillotine Skins, excuse me, coming at her at all times.
And I like both schools of thought on that. It actually is really interesting to me because it's like, all right, well, let's go Luminary because you're running Yomi, right? And you just get more damage for the already more damage you've got. Or let's go Luminary because you're running Guillotine because you don't, you're sacrificing your damage to have the ult. So let's give you back damage that you're sacrificing, or so now you're kind of splitting both worlds, and you still get an ult that insta-kills.
And at the end of the day, we see that bonus damage is good, no matter how you apply it.
Yeah, that's right.
In a lot of situations, especially on the point as well. Zin doesn't necessarily need that bonus range to be effective in a lot of instances. I think Slopodopolis here is doing a good job to lock this down. They're going for it. They pop the Immortal. They want to hit the gas pedal here.
Oh,
Vexed Gaming get it through. Vivian backs off for just a second, and that is all that's needed.
Yeah, I mean, the Vivian pushes it. What a play. And Fernando gosh, he loves the Immortal call because he saved some teammates, but World Edit's up in the air, and despite attacking, he's not in contest of the payload. He's too high, and thus the Vivian J Tyloo's 5-5 and 5. Boy, it's his lucky day at the slots. He ends up pushing this one 2-0 by himself, and that was unexpected. That's a good replay.
What is?
That last conversion, yeah.
4, 3,
a lot of little moments.
1.
World Edit, so close to cauterize 3. I would have probably just sat and spawned for that. I think at that point, you got to wait just 1 or 2 seconds. As a backliner anyway, your positioning off the rip isn't super important. He's probably just going to go up and start spamming windows anyway. Could have had caught 3. Could have had a V8. Slobodopoulos this time will not be bailed out. However, the fire spit comes in and just bobs in on the head. And now with that, the burst damage put onto the King as well. Look at the backline from Vexed Gaming playing so well around each other.
God, man, 1377. Oh, man, Fusillade is just maybe one of the most satisfying experiences in Paladins. You talk about hitting Eevee shots midair, but I think you talk about hitting Fusillade rockets directly on the champions with a Torvald bubble. That just feels good. And 54% for Vexed Gaming, but OTP, again, one of the things I love about them is they properly back off when things aren't going well and regroup as 5 to be able to take the objective.
Seismic Crash is going to stun out too, but you see Fernando shrug that off very, very quickly.
Oh,
Gets a
what a
huge heal as well. The wall goes up. No cauterize applied to this Fernando.
Oh.
Vivian's just being put in timeout at the moment, but it's 3 kills coming back. Comeback mechanic as well for OTP. The Dragon Punch is trying to stabilize this here, but I don't see a way that OTP are losing this 3-on-2.
And I think, Nick, the biggest thing here is that the Dragon Punch and the kill from Drogoz didn't come when it needed to. That wall, oh man, that came up right when the Fire Spit was about to secure the Inara. And unfortunately, it just goes the way of OTP. That's why these little moments of whether the Drogoz can go off, whether the Inara can stay alive or not due to her tankiness, whether the Fernando applies the aggression, that's the difference, man. And so far, it goes OTP's way in round 2.
Accelerant looking like it's going to be pretty
Like a
effective
snack.
here. Yeah, I mean, he's hitting a lot of stuns here, and with Chain Reaction, maybe that brings Chain Reaction, or excuse me, back into viability when you get those multiple sticks. The stun's able to come through a little bit more consistently.
Yeah. I mean, if you could have both, that would be awesome. Unless you're talking about another Chain Reaction.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Wouldn't it be great if you could double talent? I always thought about that. If you could use all 4 talents of a champion
Who would be
at
the
the
best?
same time, I think Drogoz would have to be
pretty nuts.
pretty nuts. Cassie'd be pretty awesome too.
Think about the salvo spit, though, with Fusillade and Combustible. That is so much damage.
Yeah, it would
You're
hit.
like one-clicking tanks at that point.
Fury would be awesome. You know, I would love that. That would be a great game mode, wouldn't it? It'd just be so everybody's busted. VR version of Omnipotence. Bomb King would be pretty insane as well.
Yeah.
Demolition, Royal Subjects,
And
Accelerant, and Chain Reaction.
He's going through everything.
He might be the best.
Killing spree.
How would Andrew do? Any of the flanks be good?
Andrew would be pretty good. I mean, Godslayer's good if you could just throw it on the side. That's pretty nice. You add that with Headshot, you add that with Hetzel Roll and Dark Stalker, that's pretty amazing.
That's a lot of damage.
You get a
for
bonus
sure.
damage under 50% because that got buffed in 1.4. Get the 8 ammo, the headshot. I mean, that would be nuts. And you get the punch. The punch double, so your punches would hurt a lot.
If only, if only.
Zen would be good
30
too.
seconds remaining.
There's definitely some room for some match of the day action, I think.
Oh yeah.
That like Siege of Ascension peak. Bring that back.
Bring it back, ladies.
We
and
need
gentlemen.
more of it.
We certainly do. I heard there's a patch notes show on Thursday, so that'll be exciting.
15
Get some
seconds
new
remaining.
announcements there.
Dragon Ball, it's great, but I want to play with all the talents.
Dragon Ball.
7, 6, 5,
You're talking about the anime, right? Of course.
No, the
No, I know. You're talking about the game.
Dunk Ball. I don't know. Can't remember what it was called.
I mean, Weeaboo Nick's definitely talking about it.
Yeah.
Definitely talking about
It's
Dragon
me.
Ball Z. Oh, man. Well, it's Vex Gaming who hold that one defensively, and I mean, it's 3-1 going forward, so it seems like This could be it.
World Edit almost
Point spawning.
coming up on
15
doubling the damage of
seconds.
the next closest member in this game, not just on his team. He's got the Master riding 2 this time as well, so no one's going to be outpacing him at this point in time. He goes for the kill to heal as well.
3,
Every
2,
time you get an assist, any
1.
type of elimination, a kill either, 300 health. Assuming you're not cauterized, that can be really, really scary, especially in the later game. We've seen supports dabble in that. I'm surprised we don't see more of that, though.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is going to be an interesting fight. Oh, I like that he already gets the Wings of Wrath off. Just gets a little bit of 400, 600 damage onto the Zen. That actually matters onto a flank. Solar Blessing getting Joe's near. Slopodopolis needs to get healed. Shield's going to come down. It should be a kill.
I mean, that just got sloppy down the stretch there.
It did.
Here
Flame?
comes the King Bomb. Could have been flamed it,
Huh.
but I think maybe just too far gone at that point.
Maybe. Yeah.
So a couple of things happen there. The early Dragon Punch misses completely onto Inara, onto the objective. You hate to see that. Then the Immortal comes through. Tries to buy time for the Solar Blessing to come through, but that didn't make it either. That hit on a teammate a little bit earlier in the mines there, and so that didn't get where it was going. And all these little mistakes are really defining Vexed Gaming today.
You know what's also interesting to me is the fact that they pull back, but at this point, there's not enough with the comeback mechanic. There's no reason to pull back. I mean, the notable thing that we saw was really a lot of the even fights, or the fights that were in the favor of these teams pull back and know they have a chance away. Vexed Gaming give up what was their only shot. I mean, inflaming there, trying to kill that Bomb King, turned out to be their only chance at retaking this point.
Fire Spit up over the top, though, finds one. And we'll have to see if Vexed Gaming will let that define them, or if they're going to hold this defense strong yet again. A lot of good fireballs, opportunities for success down these little narrow corridors.
It's got to be frustrating.
Definitely have the composition to succeed here. It's going to be very, very late game itemizations. When you have these rounds that go the entire duration every single time of just these brawls up here near the objective, despite the point being captured, there's not a lot of pushing happening right now.
Right.
And so a lot of where the credits come from when you're on the offense are actually sitting on the objective the entire push.
Right.
Contesting it out against enemy front line, stuff like that. The more people that are on there contesting, the more credits you actually get ticking through. And Ara's off all on her lonesome.
Yeah, and this is where you see teams start to get a little bit of that snowballish vibe, if there ever was one. As you were talking about, 60 seconds left. We've watched a lot of World Edit in the sky. Welshmania was great on the Vivian last game, but there were some mistakes across the side of Vex, which you said has kind of been a big part of their dynamic today. But Legends has been fantastic. They just have to find a way to be this consistent on the objective fights, and they just have not been.
I mean, this is how Brightmarsh went too. Like, they've just owned the defense, and then the objective fight will come around and just these little mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, and can we call them little anymore?
Seconds remaining.
I don't know. Relatively match deciding, I would say.
Yeah. But I mean, like, not dismounting a Ruckus is a little thing. I guess not hitting your Dragon Punch is a pretty big issue.
Yeah.
Especially when you have everything you need to. It's just, that was a turning radius issue, I think.
10,
Yeah.
9, 8,
Yeah, and it's like, you know,
7
it's
enemies
the smaller, it's more of the basics, more of the fundamentals that are going wrong, I think. The pulling back once, and it's hard in Paladins too, because, you know, when this game started, especially considering the fact that, you know, Europe, North America in the Pro League have had a little bit more time to continue to develop, a little bit more competition that was consistent at the same level. You know, these finer strategies of what do you do when a team has a comeback mechanic? What do you do against a triple DPS? What do you do when Khan ults you? All these little things, it usually gets a little easier on PC. They get a little earlier. And so I'm not surprised to see that some of these things take some catching up.
Still 20-5 at the end of the day for World Edit on the Drogos. You got to try and convert that into a win at this point. I mean, he's got so much more damage than basically everyone in this game. Got the Dragon Punch. Everyone's got their ultimate available except for Cassie, but hers is largely irrelevant because there's only so many places you can be at the start of Ice Mines.
0-12 for Westside on the Inara, which is a really rough kind of stat because Inara can pick up those kills, and that's where I think you see the biggest impact from guys like Lazy, who have been finding themselves on front lines. But I like this seismic crash here, and it's just going to die so quickly. And this is probably where most of the 20 and 5 from World Edit is coming from. He finds another one on to Niju, and now Jay Tyloo just going to call it off. Back up. Legends doing his best to fight while retreating, but This has to be a full wipe.
Yeah, that's what you can't give up, though. That's 7 seconds before the Spawn King is even spawned, and now the gas pedal hit.
I like it, though.
That's probably it. I don't see him at this point. No support. Already at 75%.
Yeah.
Everyone's falling apart.
Make it
0-14. Why don't you?
That'll do. Wow.
Send a message.
Send a message for sure.
24 streak. Holy crap.
For a team that just was so successful, had a couple of nice moments there earlier on at their push. It is surprising, to say the least, see OTP, I think, let the set go when they had the chance to do it, but Vexed did look good throughout the game, and it was definitely World Edit who I think it all hinged on. If that Drogas didn't get the kills, missed the Dragon Punch, it wasn't going to be the game for them.
And, I mean, they use, what, that Immortal there to, like, basically put their foot down and win that fight at the start.
Right.
Just, I think, a better composition at the end of the day. If you're looking at one ultimate spent to weather the storm on, like, 2 or 3, it's just a more effective composition.
Well, okay, it's tied up in our best of 3. It's going to the last game. What do you guys think? I mean, my opinion watching these two teams, especially with seeing the name of Vex and seeing these types of players, is that Vex have been underperforming a little bit today.
Absolutely. I mean, I think they should have won game 1. There was so many things they could have done leading up to that final round. And again, if that Ruckus doesn't get there, they were at about 85, 86%, somewhere in that neighborhood, when that guy's like kind of ripping out a spawn. If he just gets dismounted, that game is literally over at that point. You've got an Inara wall, you've got a Wardus, you've got everything you need to control that map, control that point room, to not let somebody in there. That was the only thing they had to do to win that game.
I think it's a fundamental difference too as to how they're banning and picking. Obviously, console is a little bit of a different meta, but what we would see is more frontline bans rather than the damage bans, which we're seeing 3 damage bans guaranteed. And Koga's mixing things up. I mean, a lot more threats are on the board because Koga's taking that spot where you would see a frontline, really, or you'd see a Torvald or Makoa. And I think it's just like these frontlines are determining a lot of this fight, and then there's just this A-tier, S-tier damage dealer as well. I mean, these point fights are pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, Bomb King clearly pretty important to OTP. And given the two, I think this is smart drafting from OTP as well. Vex, you know, they grab the Torvald Makoa, so OTP don't feel any, despite an R being up, don't feel any pressure to pick her at this point. They go for some other things that Vex might be having their eye on. Vivian taken away again, and some type of flank or something, I think, to pair with this Torvald. But Zin would have been, again, that's what I would have looked at, but it was picked away earlier.
Yeah, and I think that's just a smart draft from OTP. And no fear at matching the Inara and the Fernando against the Torvald Makoa. Here's the Pip. And we talked about Pip earlier today on the desk and thought maybe Swiper would bring it out, but it's Vexed who bring out the first Pip of the day. And the first Pip in an entire week. We really haven't seen a ton of Pips throughout the PGS, the PPL, or the PCL. So we'll be interested to see how this turns out. A lot of great ultimates on the side of Vexed, but OTP have a little bit more of a dangerous lineup in terms of damage.
Yeah, they have a pretty nuts suite of ultimates as well. And if they are as good as we've seen the PPL develop into in terms of just counterplaying an Evil Mojo just based off the voice cue that you hear before it goes off, I mean, you've got all types of CC immunity on this squad. And even if someone does get hit, you've got so much counter engage with things like the King Bomb and the Seismic Crash and even an Immortal that can really, really counter out the world at its Evil Mojos.
And interesting, going for the Royal Subjects and, you know, maybe just looking at some of the safety that the Makoa is going to have in running the Leviathan, that it's not going to be that effective onto one of the front lines. And so let's just go for what is going to help on this map where a lot of these room fights need him to just peek and poke. Need you here holding down 2 players on the left side. Slopodopolis now finding Jay Tyloo. And OTP will lose 2 members here. Vex Gaming on the approach. Yui just keeping Pip World Edit nice and safe.
Very focused on landing these shields as well. Played it all 3 games at this point here. The movement speed, you can see Makoa just take off as well. Hitting for some big bonus damage, even when not making direct contact. West side, I think, just got hooked off the map or chose himself to jump off.
Right. I love pips in these compositions, truly. And part of it is that you need a really good pip player. You need someone who knows the mechanics, who knows whether he can win the 1v1 or whether he can contribute to the point fight, and smart usage of the ultimate. But he's such a great triple DPS filler because he does great damage. He has great burst. He's got sustained DPS. He's got a wonderful ultimate that you're going to see. Although the chicken's standing in the solar blessing. Oh, well, that certainly is, I guess, some grilled chicken. Not quite fried. It has definitely stayed nice and lean and has made it out. But unfortunately, we'll go down right afterwards. A great moment, though.
I mean, this is some bully potential right here. When you go the Torvald bubbles onto the Leviathan Makoa, you've got a Pip following him around, burst healing him back up.
Yeah.
This is pretty scary for Slopodopolis, who's had to kind of, in game 1, be the sacrificial Inara, and then in game 2, kind of be out there on the objective playing. He hit some good fireballs with Fernando, but at the end of the day,
yeah,
I think this is the game that he was waiting for. This is the one where he can take over.
Yeah, it was burst meta. It was burst damage and burst healing that I think the Pip brought to the table as well with the ultimate. But I mean, flexibility, that's the thing. There where you need it, when you need it. You need to get healthy, Torvald, I can contribute to that. And when you pick a Zen, he's doing the damage, he's filling it out, he can take care of himself, but he doesn't have that. And that is something unique to Pip, unique to this support who has always pretty much been considered a flanker in his entire history of Paladins. And people just started to go with it, go with the flow.
And the payload will go through there. Vexed Gaming, a very quick round from them. Look at their composition. I mean, there's just so much survivability across them all, and having some type of way to heal themselves, deploy a shield for themselves. Everyone's always within arm's reach of each other. The defining moment there, swinging for the 805s, comes ripping in. Gets a little bit of help from the Maldava Fear as well, and cleans up 3 when it's all said and done there. World Edit, dominant today on whatever he has played.
And let's take a look at the healing as well for this Pip, because he's contributed a little bit of this. Some of it's been to himself. But that healing chart might tell a story of how much he's contributed. And it is just 5,000, but, you know, that's sometimes the difference between living or dying.
And that's 5, you know, big cooldowns there coming out. So he's done a good job throwing it at the Makoa. I think that's been the primary recipient. But a lot of times, what doesn't get counted is that self-healing. You have to heal your other teammates to get counted on that chart. Here comes the Evil Mojo. Bomb King does have a little bit of CCR. You can tell just how quickly he pops out of that, so I think it's good to focus the front end of there.
Yeah, and I mean, you want the front line, right? That's really what you're hoping for, and they've already used their Poppy Bomb.
Ruh-roh.
Inflame, don't care about it. This is Vexed Gaming's point to lose. This is their set to lose. Seems like they might have gotten themselves back in winning ways, especially after World Edit had that performance, and maybe this team just needs World Edit to go big or go home.
I mean, when I'm seeing the rocket jump, weightless wall jump as well, that's some Pip mechanics there. That's high level stuff. Zin's getting there. He's getting close, but he gets hooked away. That's a 3-0 lead for Vexed Gaming now, and I think they should be pretty much ready to put this one away. Slopodopolis could fall here, but bailed out yet again. There is just too much survivability on this roster.
Never bet against High Vizier Torvald. He somehow always has a bubble when he needs it. The dark side is always there for when you fall. Except, you know, sometimes.
Well, dang, now I don't know what to think.
That's life, Nick.
Silence him out of the shield. There you go, Pop.
There you
now
go,
you're
Pop.
thinking with your head.
There you go, Pop. Man, what a set Yui's had. Played Torvald 3 games in a row.
Easy.
That's an odd day.
The Bubble Bot.
The Bubble Bot. The Bubble Boy.
Reporting for beep boop duty.
Reporting for bubbles. 1,020.
Wow,
Is that
wow.
enough damage for you? Evil Mojo. Completed.
You can take the Fuselage Drogos away from the kid, but you can't take the kid away from Fuselage Drogos.
Burst heal, the healer. Oh, that's so beautiful.
Drogos with a heal?
I mean, seriously, man. What an incredible performance, and I love that he's picked up the Pip here. It's fun to see. It's fun to watch Pip going in the back line and giving him some Volpine room service.
Dude, Makoa with all his talents.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the original version of Paladins Battlegrounds. I have the most amazing gameplay. It's one of my favorite things that I've ever done. Man, I was in a squads match and got all those talents and somehow ended up winning towards the end.
With old Davy Jones.
Yeah, with old Davy Jones. Man, what a fun time. But still, it seems like the boys are having a fun time here. No Hyper Beam quite yet. That has just been used, but a good silence to get Fernando out of the shield. Nick should be over soon, but will it be over now? I think they might have to wait. Well, not much longer. Vexed Gaming take the set. They do wake up afterwards. It was Monday morning, so maybe just took a couple of games.
That's fair. That's fair. You got to give it to them. They'll eventually get it done, though. The boys that have represented this region for a decent amount now. I mean, they've been coming for a minute. All these other teams are getting closer, I think, with this league format. More consistent play against one another. That was close, but no cigar for OTP.
Well, we'll be taking a look at the schedule and the standings, and we'll be moving right into the next set. So you don't have to take a break, don't have to go anywhere. We're going to continue on with the Paladins Console League action for today, presented by Mixer. The European standings so far, as you can see, for Xbox, it was Vexed Gaming who take the top spot. And we're going to be transitioning now into the second match of this region.
Man, for the O2 team to almost beat the #1 team, though. I mean, at least get in that game.
You could tell that they were not having a good day.